Thank you very much for the invite and the award and that kind of stuff. Johan's talks very much in line of what we do. You speak about life. That's what we specialize in. We specialize in saving lives. Gift of the Givers is the name of the organization. I like to emphasize that it's not my organization. When I say that, I mean, I didn't get up one morning and say to myself, okay, I think today I'm bored. I'll form an organization. I couldn't do that. I'm a doctor. I was in private practice. I had 3 surgeries in a place called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. I worked Monday to Sunday, after hours calls. I did everything. The official date of the organization is 6th August 1992. But as you get older and you reflect on life, as you say, reflect and think, I realized that this thing actually started in 1985. The basis of the organization is totally spiritual. It is a calling. And I'll take you back to why I say it's 1985. In 1985, I was doing internship, meaning the last year of medical training, in a place called King Edward Hospital in Durban. And whilst I was in the final year, and when you're young, of course, you all got aspirations. I said the following year I'll become a medical officer, then a registrar. That's the steps you follow in South Africa. And after that, a specialist in internal medicine, a physician. It never happened that way. Pre-94, there weren't much opportunities. So there was no post and I couldn't study further. There were 2 choices. One, you can sit and mope and moan and cry and wail, or you say there's faith and there's spirituality. There's some other plan in mind. And of course, being a strong individual, I said I have to do something else. Though I did not want to do it, I went into private practice in a place called Pietermaritzburg in 1986. I moved to Durban in 1974. To be with my mother, because my mother and my father separated. She was from Durban, he was from Potchefstroom. They were just not compatible. So she went away to Durban and he was in Potchefstroom. I moved there in 1974. I finished matric. I finished medical school. It was the final year, the internship in 85. And in 86, I moved to Pietermaritzburg. My wife is from Pietermaritzburg. So my father-in-law said, why don't you come and try here, do some private practice, and go back to study. So I said, that's fine. Now, this is where the story really gets interesting. You see, in January 86, when I moved from Durban to Pietermaritzburg, an Afrikaner guy from Pretoria also moved from Pietermaritzburg. I mean, moved from Pretoria to Pietermaritzburg. But he came from New York. He was in America on some scholarship. So he landed up in South Africa and came from Pretoria to Pietermaritzburg to teach French in the local university in my hometown. He had 2 requirements. He needed a butcher and he needed a doctor. Now, there's doctors and butchers in Pietermaritzburg. But when I say it's spiritual, it's very unusual, but not that unusual. But in his luck, the butcher that he went to, his neighbor was a doctor, which was me. I just moved into Pietermaritzburg that week, and he also moved that week. And the butcher I found was my neighbor. And this is where the story gets very interesting. So I started treating him quite a few times. And then one day he said, look, I think I know you quite well now. I need to share a story with you. Every time I speak to you, I think of the spiritual teacher that I met in America. So I said, like, what's the story? He said, I was walking through the streets of New York. And that day, I was broken. My soul was empty. Like exactly what you were talking about. My soul was empty. My spirit was empty. I didn't know why I'm living, what I'm doing here, what's the purpose of life. And I was just completely depleted. At that moment of time, from the corner of my eye, I see a man looking at me. I don't know who's this man. But my heart tells me to follow him. We have a teaching, in Islamic teaching, that when you're in doubt, listen to your heart, not your head. So he takes his heart and he follows the man. And the man walks into St. John the Divine, the huge church in New York, which I visited on my way to Haiti during the earthquake. He says, but when I get inside there, I'm a little confused. Because the man that I followed was a Muslim, a Turk, a Sufi master, a master of spirituality. In the church, he said, there were all people from all religions, Jews, Christians of different denominations, Muslims, and people from faith and non-faith, but all in the church. And he said, I saw the unity of the people of different religions. It was very difficult to understand. Then he said, look, I spent some time there. I spoke to the teacher. I listened, I got some advice from him. Every time you speak, you remind me of him. So I think you should go to Turkey. So I said, Mala, I know you're not feeling well. I'm treating you all the time. It's 1986. I'm in Pietermaritzburg, I'm in South Africa. I haven't even seen Cape Town yet. As a doctor, when am I going to get to Turkey? You said something very profound. You said what God wills happens. There's a time and a place. August 91, it's a long story. My wife and I landed up in Turkey in the Halveti Jerahi Sufi Order of Istanbul, spiritual place. What Mother saw in St. John the Divine, I saw in Turkey. There were American Jews, Christians from Europe, people from all over the world, different religions, different denominations. They came from America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, the parts of Southeast Asia and Africa, all mixed with different religions, different backgrounds, different nationalities. Now, this was a complicated time for me. You guys remember the Gulf War? The perception was as Christians, Hindus, and Jews on one side and Muslims on the other side. East on one side, West on the other side. And coming from an apartheid past didn't help. So I walk inside here and the spiritual teacher sees the shock on my face. I'm thinking, how's this possible? He asked me, first thing he saw, he asked me, you know, normally when you travel, when you go to a place, they ask you like if you're a guest, where are you coming from? How's the flight? Where are you staying? Did you eat something? Do you want something? Are you okay? No. I understood there was something very different here. Because his first question to me was, what do you see? Because that was what's troubling me. Where I came from, which plane I took didn't bother me. What bothered me is what I was seeing here. How is this possible? This is post-Gulf War. We fought all with each other. He said, I am confused. I said, I'm confused. What are the people from different religions and different countries doing in a Muslim place? We fought wars with them all over the world. Why are they here? He said, my son, you see right. But he says, mankind is one single nation. Oh. The God of all mankind is one. We just call him by different names. He says, any imam, priest, pandit, rabbi, Sufi or sheikh that promotes violence, extremism, confrontation, discord or disorder is not a man of God. Don't follow him. Anyone that preaches love, kindness, compassion, and mercy is a man of God. Follow him. I saw the love among the people from different religions. I saw the humanity in each one. And I fell in love with something that I did not understand. Islam's got a lot of different branches, but it depends on your worldview and what experience you have. So if you don't have a big experience, your mind will be very narrow. And it tells me, look, you come from a country, there's apartheid, but don't judge an individual by his color, by his race, or his religion. Look at his humanity. We don't judge people in a negative light. We look after the souls of people. We encourage goodness even in the bad. And if you do that and keep saying you say the guy is bad, you don't say you're bad. You say you fed the cat. You did something like this. You find a good point to tell in the person. And if you keep doing that, the positivity goes up. And the law of the universe is that positivity goes up and negativity goes down. And people change. He says we try to save every single soul. We don't judge people. We don't criticize. We just promote good and harmony. I went back. I reflected on that. 6th August 92. This is 7 years later now. You know what? I said I got the initial thing in 85. I met a teacher the year before, but it all started in 85. 6th August 92. It was a Thursday night. For Muslims, Friday starts on Thursday because our day starts at sunset. We follow the lunar calendar. So our Friday starts at sunset the day before. And Friday is an important day for us. So it was a Thursday night, 10 p.m. After a zikr ceremony. Now, those Westerners who came there know what a zikr is. A zikr basically is a recitation of God's name in Arabic. We recite it in Arabic. So in the other scriptures, you would say, God the one and only, kind, compassionate, merciful, eternal, loving, sustainer, cherisher, creator, and so it goes. And we pronounce it. At some point when that happens, if you haven't had the experience, those people had the experience, at some point, you will feel the presence of God Almighty right in front of you. At that point, when it happened, the teacher stopped. He then made eye contact with me, and he looked upwards. But I don't know what this was all about, because it just happened. So he looked at me and looked upwards in fluent Turkish. And I don't speak a word of Turkish. But I understood every single word that he said in Turkish that night. He said, "My son, I am not asking you, I am instructing you to form an organization. I told you it's not my organization. I got an instruction from a spiritual teacher. I'm instructing you to form an organization." He gave the name. When a spiritual teacher gives a name, there's a lot of power in that. He said the name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin. We translated it. It's not exactly correct, but from Arabic to English, it's very difficult. Gift of the givers. He instructed, you will serve all people of all races, all religions, all colors, all classes, of any geographical location and of any political affiliation. But you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. This is an instruction for you for the rest of your life. I was 30 years old. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy. And remember the dignity of man is foremost. So if someone is down, don't push them down further. Hold them, elevate them. Wipe the tear of a grieving child. Caress the head of an orphan. Say words of good counsel to a widow. These things are free. They don't cost anything. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, provide water to the thirsty. And in everything that you do, be the best at what you do. Not because of ego. Ego is destructive. But because you're dealing with human life, human emotion, human suffering. My son, don't ever forget. Remember that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. For 32 years, everything that I've touched, there's a hand over it. It's not humanly possible. The people in the spiritual order said, this order is running for over 300 years. They've never seen anything like what happened that night. I asked the spiritual teacher at some point, I said, when you speak Turkish, I understand. And other people speak Turkish, I don't understand. How is this possible? He said, my son, when the hearts connect and the souls connect, the words become understandable. I asked him, what exactly am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? I'm a doctor. I have 3 practices. I work Monday to Sunday. Like, what am I going to do and when I'm going to do this? He looked at me and told me one line. He looked me in the eye again and he said, you will know. I will know what? What kind of answer is that? For 32 years, I know exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, what to touch, what not to touch. I'll give you a few examples. The moment I walked out of that place, on the 6th of August, the same night it came to me, respond to the civil war in Bosnia. The same month, my first project in my life, in Gift of the Givers, I took in 32 containers of aid into a war zone all alone. 3 months later, I took in 8 containers of winter items because the chill factor in Eastern Europe could reach minus 21 degrees. He said, be the best. So the following year, we designed the world's first containerized mobile hospital. No Western country, not America, not Europe, not Australia, nobody in the world, not the UN, not the World Health Organization, nobody in the world had designed a containerized mobile hospital. We did it in South Africa. Was South African South African engineering and South African technology. 28 state-of-the-art theater, X-ray, sterilization unit, ICU, burns unit, dental unit, physiotherapy unit, orthopedics, gynecology, casualty, outpatient, and a whole lot of others. We put a bus, generator, ambulance, and 10 containers of backup supplies, meaning sutures, fluids, IV lines, medicines, antibiotics, and enough diesel that if the hospital is surrounded completely for a year, it will run without any support from the outside. We put it in an underground warehouse and it ran for a whole year without any outside support. CNN filmed the hospital on the 1st of February 1994. And they said the South African containerized mobile hospital is equal to any of the best hospitals in Europe. In 2005, the Bosnian government, many years later, after the war, called me to come as their guest. They took me for a tour of the country with my family, and we went back to the hospital. The person I put in charge of the hospital then was the same person in charge now. He said to me, you said we can do everything in the theater besides heart surgery. I said, yes, that's what I told you. So he brings me a lady. He said, meet the lady. So this lady, she had shrapnel in her heart. We removed the shrapnel in her heart in the same theater that you South Africans provided. And you see these 4 children, they were born to this lady. After the shrapnel was removed from her heart in the theater that you guys provided, and they were born in the same hospital. We associate South Africa with healing, with faith, and the giving of life. Now, in 2014, something else happened. On the 6th of January 2014, we get a call from the deserts of Yemen to say, are you the guys looking for 2 South African hostages? We said, we've been saying that from May 2013. Come tomorrow, 7 January 2010, 10 o'clock, to Aden. By a guy who lives in Yemen, I send him. We don't know who got them. Could be various options. 2 South Africans were taken hostage. So he goes inside. The moment he walks in, they tell him, do you know we are? We are Al-Qaeda. And you know what we're capable of. What you want? He says, I came for 2 South African hostages. He's an Arab like them. So we said, it's fine. Let's talk about the woman first. So he said, okay, let's talk about the woman first. He said, you can have her. No problem. Just put down $3 million. They allowed him to talk to me. So I told him, tell him, sorry, no money. Not giving you any money. I'm not trained in hostage negotiations. He's not trained in hostage negotiations. He doesn't have an undergraduate degree. Neither do I. We don't have honors. We don't have masters. We don't have PhD. We haven't been trained by any state security and intelligence services, by any government, by any hostage negotiators. The teacher said, you will know what to do. In 3 days, January 10th, 2014, we got Yolani Koki released, unharmed, unconditional, zeros and ransom. No government in the world can do that, even if they pay 15 million euros, which is the going rate. They cannot pay, even if they paid 15 million euros, they can't do it in 3 days. We head out of there in 3 days. And we secured the release of her husband on the 6th of December the following year. No ransom to pay. Unfortunately, the American Marines went in, and both the hostage, Luke Summers, and the South African hostage died. He was coming home that morning. I told his wife he's coming home, and they both died. But the point is that we knew exactly what to do and how to do it. Now, up till this point, I'm sorry, not that point, but going back from 93 onwards to 2004, we never had personnel, no medical teams. We specialized in medical teams and search and rescue teams. The organization started evolving because every time we looked at a situation, we said what we got to do different. So from the beginning, from 92 right up to 2004, 26 December, it was tents, blankets, food, medicine, bottled water, sanitary pads, diapers, energy biscuits. That's all it was. And of course, the hospital was a unique individual case, but we didn't have our teams in the hospital. We gave it to them to run it themselves. 26 December 2004, when the tsunami hit, it struck 13 countries. In Indonesia, Thailand, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, parts of Kenya, Burma, and a few other countries. And it hit a place called Hafun on the northeast part of Somalia. Now, there were 2 things to do. The Sri Lankan, India said we don't need any help. The Western countries all went to Indonesia and Thailand. Maldives, nobody really went to, and it sort of settled on its own. But the Sri Lankan president came on world TV and said, we don't know what to do. Disaster is about thinking fast on your feet. My team members were family members actually, because we had no team at the time, were in Dubai on the way to India. I called them, I said, we're diverting, you guys are going to Sri Lanka. We were the first team in the world that entered Sri Lanka. We were the first team in the world that was seen by the Sri Lankan president, Chandrika Kumaratunga at that time. And we were the first team in the world that was given land to build houses in Sri Lanka. And we were the first team in the world that did it. The day we arrived, within 48 hours, we partnered local companies in Sri Lanka. And within 5 days, we delivered 7 million rand worth of aid. I flew in planes from Dubai, from India, from Colombo into the affected area to reach the people. But again, not medical personnel. To me, what was important was Africa, because I'm from Africa. If you don't respond to your own continent, don't expect anybody else to do it for you. So we said we'll respond to Hafun in Somalia in the northeast. But there are several problems. Number 1, there's no communication system. Number 2, there's no government. Number 3, there's poor infrastructure. Number 4, you don't know how the airways and runways is going to be. But to us, that's not an issue. you need to get help to the people. We normally fly big Russian Illusion planes that carry 40 tons. But an Illusion 70, 20, 40-ton plane can't land in Bosaso, which is the nearest runway to our phone. It's too big and it's too heavy. Those runways are not built for big planes. The only contact you got is civil aviation, and they can guide you what to do. So they said, no, the plane is too big. You can't come in that plane. Now, normally, in a Russian Illusion, we sit in a cargo plane in compartment in the back, because oxygen is controlled. So you can sit in a cargo section as a passenger. But we couldn't take the plane. So we flew to Uganda. We emptied the plane and put it into two smaller planes called the Antonov 12. That can hold 18 tons each one. The problem is you can't sit in a cargo hold in the Antonov. You'll die. There's no oxygen control. But we have to get there. So we sit in the cockpit with the pilot. Above him, below him, around him, and on the side of him. With no seat belts. And as the plane's approaching Bosaso, the pilot says, shit. I said, like, what happened? He said they made a mistake. The runway is 300 meters shorter than what they told us. But you always think forward. I took Russian fighter pilots to fly the plane. So they just dropped this plane right down, boom. And all of them went flying all over in the cockpit. The plane stopped on the edge of the runway, just made it. But we're still not finished. This is Bosaso. We're still going to go to our food. It's a 400-kilometer journey for trucks to go. You have to wait for the sea tide to recede. Then you drive over, and then you deliver the aid. So this is the first time we took a medical team. That's why we had to go with the pilot. We took a primary healthcare team. We call the people, come. The whole place comes, not a big place. Everybody comes. I'm thinking, all of you affected. How is this possible? No. I'll tell you what happened. So they come in the queue, and the first woman says, I had a headache 6 months ago. The other person says, I had a stomach cramp 2 years ago. What does that mean? You see, in medicine, we have forgotten real medicine. We want to know about AI, robotics, technology, MRI, CT scan. We've forgotten the human touch. We've moved away from the human touch. All that lady was telling me is, please tell me I'm okay. That's all she wants to know. If you tell me I'm okay, I'm fine. I can walk out of this queue. That's all they wanted. They wanted somebody to touch them gently, listen to them, feel them, speak to them nicely and say, no worry, lady, you are fine, nothing to worry about. So I told my teams, this is what we need to do. If the torch is not working, it doesn't matter. If you can't hear the stethoscope, it doesn't matter. If the BBB machine is broken, it doesn't matter. Just touch the people and talk to them and say you're fine. Spirituality is about emotional healing. And the moment they told them they didn't want the medicine, they just walked out. They said, we don't need it. Be fine. And they walked away from the queue. We put up a medical center in Bosaso just after 2004. It's still running up till today to make sure that we'll finish the job properly. In 2005, something similar happened in an island in Niger. There was a famine. What the drought didn't finish off, the locust ate the balance. We get to Niger, people are dying from starvation, illness, disease. The governor makes an announcement, free team from South Africa here. We stand, you go in the hot sun, 34, 35 degrees. The people come. But this is very confusing. No adult male comes. No teenager comes. No big kid comes. The mother that comes doesn't ask for help. And they only bring the small kid. I'm thinking, what's wrong here? Then we knew we were never going to manage. Again, we had a primary healthcare team. Primary healthcare means pediatrician, general practitioner, primary healthcare nurse. That's what it means. So I'm thinking, there's so many hundreds of people here. How the hell are you going to finish this? So I started walking to the queue. I look at the kid. This one doesn't look so bad. So I point to the queue, ticket like this. I tell the mother. The mother looks at me, gives a big smile and walks out of the queue. She knows exactly what I'm saying, that your child is fine, you can walk out. She didn't resist. She didn't say, no, you got to see me. She walked out with a big smile. So I tried it with number 2 and number 5, and my team started doing it. Eventually, they started doing it. They started doing this. I started walking out. I can't understand this concept. There's no doctors here. People are sick. What else is going on? Now, I have a policy in disasters that every night, whether you're from the president's office, because the president's office people travel with me, whether you're from international relations, whether you're from the medical team, or you're just from the ordinary members, you got to sit, and even the media travels with me. You got to sit with me and we have a debrief. So the first guy who puts up his hand to debrief is a reporter from a radio called SABC Radio. His name is Tulsizwe Sibalane. That time he was with SABC Radio. He said, I want to go first. So he said, talk to Sooliman. I went through the villages of Tilaberi. At every place I went to, they told me 3 to 5 children died a day here. I said, stop. You've answered the question. He said, what do you mean? I said, I understand what happened today. No adult male came. No big kid came. No mother asked for attention. No teenager came. They walked out of the queue for one reason only. These people were the people of faith. They knew if they all come for help, we won't be able to help everybody. So they sacrificed their own child so I could see somebody else's child who may die this afternoon or tomorrow or the next day. Their child may die in 7 days' time or 10 days' time or 15 days' time, but their child is not going to die this afternoon. They didn't want somebody else's child to become a statistic that day, but in 7 days' time, their child may become a statistic. There's no guarantee a new medical team is coming with new supplies and new nutrition. They walked out of the queue to save somebody else's life. We didn't save those. We saved every single child yes was there. Every single one we saved. Not because of us, but because of them. They walked out to make sure that you can help somebody else. I call that the quiet dignity of the people of Niger, and that's how the headlines in the media was covered that time. That's absolute faith. I sacrifice everything. We all talk about faith, but do we really believe in that? This was a living presence right in front of me. 2 months later, we got involved in the earthquake in Pakistan, 8 October 2005. It's upscale now. Remember before food, tents, blankets, water? Then primary healthcare team, we are upscaled. Now we had that plus primary healthcare plus trauma teams. General surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, maxillofacial surgeon, anesthetist, theater nurse, ICU nurse, and a whole lot of people that go with that. So we get there, and the Pakistani general comes to us and says, do you mind not going to the earthquake? So I said, which hospital are you going to give me? He said, you understand? I said, yes. My team said, hey, what kind of deal are you making? Why did we come here if you can't go to the earthquake? I said, the man is telling you that everything is gone. 400 villages sank into the ground. The earthquake hit from Rawalpindi right to the India border, Muzaffarabad. 400 villages sank to the ground. I told them everything is gone. So they said, but we need to stabilize the few that are alive. I said, yes. We need helicopters. So I asked the guy, have you got helicopters? The man looked at me and said, can you see our condition? Everything is gone. The helicopters are gone to the mountain. We don't have so many helicopters. We can't survive. We can't help you. Road transport is the only way. Those mountain roads in Pakistan, they're a nightmare, and they take 8 to 10 hours just to get to the point of the top. I said, this is never going to work. Again, I told you, think on your feet. So I look around. American Air Force. So I go to the guy. Emphasis on race is deliberate. I see a big black guy standing by the helicopter. I said, my friend, where are you from? I know where he's from. He got a badge on. He says, America. I said, you're black. You're not from America. You're from Africa. He said, yeah, I'm from Africa. So I said, me too, I'm from Africa. So I said, a brother needs help from another brother. So what are brothers there for? He said, what's your problem? I said, you see, I got to send my teams to the mountain, but I need a helicopter. He said, you need a helicopter? What are brothers for? Take 3. 2 minutes. 2 Black Hawks and another helicopter in 2 minutes. He understood the language of the heart. Had I got my government to write to the American government, I'd still be waiting for the helicopter today. He took the decision on his own. Didn't worry about his boss, the general, the minister. You take the helicopters and you go. They put my teams on those helicopters and they sent him into the mountain. I told the general, which hospital you give me? He said the Cantonment Hospital of Rawalpindi. So now one's going in helicopter, other one's going to the hospital. As we walk there, we get the stench of gangrene, the stench of death. We walk inside, no disinfectant, no nurse, no proper bed, no stretcher, kids sitting there with no parents, they're all dead. No IV lines, no fluids, no support, everybody just in disarray. So I told the general, what kind of situation is this? What are you doing here? He said, I don't know. The superintendent comes running. He said, General, we're busy decommissioning the hospital. I said, you can't be in your right mind. All your hospitals that are on the top of the mountain are destroyed. The one that's standing, you're shutting down. You're surely not thinking logically. So the general said, what must we do? So I said, I'll give you a shopping list. If you follow this, I'll show you what to do. So I gave him a shopping list. The Cantonment Hospital of Rawalpindi, that was shutting down that week, the South African medical team converted it into a 400-bed emergency hospital in less than 24 hours, for which we did 75 operations a day, and we saved everyone that came from the mountain. For that, in 2006, the then president of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, gave us the Presidential Award for what we did for the people of Pakistan. The story doesn't end here. I was going to the mountains with the team because we have, besides medical, we still have tents, blankets, food, and medicine. So we take the trucks and we go into the mountain. Now, normally, I carry my phones with me, my satellite phone, and everything else. But as I was getting to the truck, my friend said, I'll hold it while you get inside. And then he got called, he got diverted, and he went away just behind to the next truck. This driver drove off. But I'm in the truck and I don't have my phones, I don't have my bag. But it wasn't a problem because we were going in convoy. At some point at the top, the trucks turn left, he turns right. So now I'm gone from the convoy with no phones, no communication. I don't speak the language. I don't even know where you are. There was no GPS in those days. I don't know where the line. And my truck is all alone. And now these guys have gone somewhere else. And I thought to myself, I'm lost. And I realized I'm not lost. Because on the road, I suddenly saw a whole lot of people. Women, children, men standing outside broken houses, shaking, cold. Nobody had got to them. I was not lost. God was taking me to a people who were lost. So when I get there, I tell them, we don't speak the language. The language the driver stood, I understood. I said, he understood means stop. So we got off, and you could see the love and the gratitude in the eyes when you delivered the stuff. But something dramatic happened. He drove off without me. Now I'm in a mountain with no driver, no phone, no communication, no address, no board, and I don't know where I am. There's only two qualities that give positivity and hope. Nothing else in the world does that. That's faith and spirituality. If you have that, you'll come out of any condition. So I told God Almighty, what do? That moment, the moon comes out. The light shines on the ground. And I follow the moonlight as I'm walking. And believe it or not, I walked right into the camp that I left from. No phone, no GPS, no boards, nobody to talk to. I followed the moonlight and it brought me right into the camp. In December, I spoke to about being, remember this country is a very broken country with race and religion and being a problem. We sent 5 teams to Pakistan. In December, an Afrikaner lady called Karina Extian calls me from the University of Pretoria. And she says, I like to go to Pakistan. I said, when? She says, on Christmas Day. I said, Karina, you surely cannot be feeling well. You're a Christian woman and you're going to go to a Muslim country on Christmas Day? No, there's something wrong with you. She says, that's the only time I get off. I said, okay, go. So she goes. She makes the children walk. She makes the adults walk. This is a new dimension we added on. Spinal rehab physiotherapy specialist. So it's tents, blankets, primary health care, trauma medicine, and now spinal rehab. And she goes in and helps the people. After 3 weeks when she leaves, she cries, the military cries, the patients cry, their families cry, the doctors cry, the nurses cry, everybody cries. Here was a Christian woman, white lady from South Africa that came to a Muslim country to help the people of that country. This was humanity in action. And nobody will ever forget that. She brought a child home to treat that fix the child in Pretoria. 2 years ago, in September 30th, I was speaking at an all-women's event, an all-women organization in Durban in Mount Edgecombe Country Club. After I gave this story, on my table, there was a lady who was sitting there. The lady tells me, I'm phoning Karina. Now, this is 2022. This happened in 2005. I said, you know Karina? She said, yes. The child that you're talking about stayed in my house. What's the chance of that being a coincidence? In spirituality, there is no coincidence. The very interesting story was the next one. I said to myself that we got primary healthcare team, We got trauma team, we got post-op rehab, we got spinal rehab, we even had trauma counselors. But in an earthquake, the first line is search and rescue. We don't have search and rescue. So after the Pakistan earthquake, we prepared for search and rescue. 2009, 12 January 2010, earthquake hits Haiti. 7.0 on the Richter scale, 5:15 in the afternoon, 40 seconds, wiped out 240,000 people. We're our search and rescue team ready to respond immediately. The Methodist Church, the Anglican Church, everybody came to the airport to greet us goodbye. So I phoned the government. I said, speak to France. You're going to fly via France, Paris, to get a Schengen visa and fly to Haiti. So within 10 minutes, the French consulate gives us the Schengen visas, but no paperwork, nobody to say, just stamped it and said go. That's a miracle on its own. So I said, we give Air France the business because it's a French company. So I told them, can you get me to Port-au-Prince? They said, yes. I said, you won't. They said, we will. I said, you won't. They said, planes are flying. I said, they're going to stop. So I said, give it to me in writing. No airline gives you guarantee in writing. They gave me guarantee in writing. I said, lady, you just made a very big mistake. Any case, thank you very much. So in the case, while my team's at the airport and they're going to leave, in disasters, you've got to take care of your teams first. I phoned the Catholic Society of South Africa. I don't know the guy on the other side. He answers the call. I said, my friend, you don't know who I am, and I don't know who you are, but I need the Pope. So that guy for the last 10 seconds couldn't speak. I need the Pope. What do you, a Muslim guy needs the Pope for? So I said, are you Christian guys not connected? We Muslims are connected all over the world. So he said, what you need the Pope for? I said, I need the Catholic Society organization to meet my teams in Dominican Republic and take them across into Haiti. Calls me back 3 hours later. He says, done. Caritas and Catholic Relief Services will meet you in Dominican Republic. Air France calls me and they said, we got a problem. We can't fly to Port-au-Prince. I said, did I tell you that this morning? I said, I'm not impossible. I will need them to fly to Dominican Republic. My teams land in Paris. I get a call, distress call. The airport is closed. I said, I know that. You guys are flying to Dominican Republic. This is the contact number. They get to Dominican Republic, Caritas and CRS. South African team, welcome. We got Christians, Hindus, Muslims, all mixed up, black, white, everybody. Come, accommodation, visa, food, water, everything. They take us across into Haiti. We stay in the camp of Caritas and Catholic Relief Services. Day 8, 20th January 2010. 8 days into the earthquake, we make world history. In the earthquake, in the rubble of the collapsed Catholic Church, my team's hear sounds in the rubble. And 3 hours later, they pull out alive 64-year-old Ed Azizi. No oxygen, no food, no water, fractured hip, inhaling dust all the time. The entire world media was filming it. First time in the history of the world, an African NGO has taken somebody out of the earthquake alive outside the African continent. And this was 8 days into the earthquake. She comes out. What are her first words? I love God Almighty. Faith and spirituality kept her alive. And then she said, I love you. The essence of humanity, of spirituality, is humanity and love. We went into the collapsed church, other churches, and ethics is a big problem in NGO work. My teams cleaned the walls and the floors. And as they wiped it down, they said, bring. My teams broke down because they brought children that somebody came to practice on them. So when they did the amputation, they did it incorrectly. So if they cut the ankle, we now had to cut the knee. If they cut the wrist, we had to cut the elbow. You totally destroyed the opportunity for these children. And we had to do hundreds of them like that. When our medical teams went, the first world country team said, we can't work here, everything is destroyed. Our team said, we'll step up to the plate. When we started working, to the credit of the first world teams, they said, if you want healing, if you want life, and you want support, go to the dream team. And the dream team is from South Africa. That's the quality of our people. I'll finish off with the last story. November 2022, I got a call from my friend in Cape Town, and he says, would you like to meet the new general manager of Turkish Airlines? He's coming from San Francisco and he's going to stay in Cape Town. So I said, Nisar, in my business, I got to know everybody. I'm a disaster specialist. So I said, okay, we'll meet him. So I said, no, not now. Let the universe decide when I need to meet him. No notes, nothing written down, nothing recorded. February 1st, 2023, I get into the plane in Durban, and as I get into the plane, the thought comes, phone now. So I phoned him. I said, this airline guy of yours is here? He said, I'll call you back. He said, yes, he's here. We're having supper at a Turkish restaurant. Yeah, sorry, in the waterfront, 9:30. I land, I go straight to the restaurant. We have our Turkish tea, we talk. My first business talk to him is, Muhammad, I need an airline partner in the event an earthquake hits a country to move medical teams, search and rescue teams, dog handlers, and dogs, tents, blankets, food and medicine, medical equipment, and search and rescue equipment instantly, no red tape, no bureaucracy, and you don't lose any of my equipment. He looks at me. He said, done. 5 days later, 4:14, Monday, 6th February, the earthquake hits his country. What's the chance of that being a coincidence? 1 in 24 hours, the search and rescue teams are on a plane. In 48 hours, the dog handlers and the dogs are on the plane. We're the only team in the world that had 5 dogs. We get to Turkey, humility is critical in the kind of work that we do. We don't say, we're very clever, we come from South Africa, we did this, that, and the other. They are healing, they are bleeding, they are in pain. 20 million people were affected in this earthquake. We get there, we said, dear friend, sir, mister, we're here to stand at your service. Where must we go? You send us. Anywhere you want us to go. The city of Hatay was totally flattened. 99% wiped off the face of the earth. 12 teams got selected to go to Hatay. 2 Chinese government teams, 2 Turkish government teams, Italian, Jordanian, Saudi, Omani, Croatian, Bosnian, Serbian, and gift of the givers. Only 12 of us got selected to go there. Exactly like in Haiti on day 8. Our dog said, you better go there. And we went there. On day 8, in the 12-story pancake building, we pull out alive a 90-year-old grandmother 8 days into the earthquake. When that happened, this is the most significant and the last part of the story. I told you there were 12 teams. One of them was Bosnian, one of them was South African. The Bosnian team leader comes, pets my team leader on the shoulder, and he starts sobbing. Somebody asked him, like, what happened to you? So he takes out his wallet and pulls out a picture from the wallet. And in the picture, there's a baby and a woman. He said, that baby, that's me. That woman, that's my mother. He says, in 1993, you guys brought a hospital to Bosnia. I was born in that hospital. Spirituality is key in what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.